66 million years ago, a single object just over 10 kilometers wide wiped out 75% of all complex life on the planet in a matter of hours. The impact released, in one single instant, energy equivalent to billions of atomic bombs. The crater left behind stretches more than 180 kilometers wide, buried today beneath the Yucatan Peninsula. Dust thrown into the sky blocked out the sun for years, and the temperature crashed as if the entire planet had stepped into a night with no end. To reproduce that much energy in a single second, all of humanity would need to burn through an entire year's worth of electricity, and there would still be impact left over. That's what makes the biggest nuclear bomb ever tested look like a lit match inside an empty stadium. And the reason it was so devastating? It wasn't the hit itself. It was everything that came after. In less time than it takes you to finish breakfast, that impact had already rewritten the fate of almost every species on the planet. But that was just one accident among several the Earth has already survived. The next one doesn't even need to come from space. It's already sitting there, quiet, underneath the feet of thousands of people right now. Beneath Yellowstone National Park sits a magma chamber capable of burying most of North America under ash in a single eruption. The last time something like that happened was roughly 630,000 years ago. The volume of ash released would be enough to bury entire cities under a thick layer, and the global cooling that would follow could drag temperatures down for years in a row. If it happened today, airports on 3 continents would shut down at the same time, and next year's harvest simply wouldn't exist. The odds of it happening in your lifetime are low. But geologically speaking, the interval between major eruptions should have already run its course again. And nobody knows exactly when that clock runs out, or how much warning, if any, we'd actually get before it does. Only, there's a form of destruction on this list that doesn't need any geological or cosmic event at all. It was already built, tested, and stored in silos, scattered across the planet decades ago. Today, there are more than 12,000 active nuclear warheads in the world, and their combined power often outweighs everything ever detonated in human history combined. It isn't just the blast that kills on a planetary scale, it's what comes afterward. Soot from mass fires in bombed cities would rise into the stratosphere and stay there, blocking out much of the sunlight for years. If just 100 of those weapons were detonated at the same time, anywhere in the world, food production across the entire planet would collapse before the first year was even over. None of them would need to explode anywhere near you for hunger to reach your table. It's the only entry on this list that depends entirely on a human decision, not a law of physics. And maybe that's exactly what makes it the most uncomfortable one of all. It can still be avoided. Curiously, some of the scenarios on this list are practically certain to happen someday, while others may never happen at all. Before we go on, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now's the moment. What's coming next changes the scale in a way most people never stop to consider. A gamma ray burst just a few thousand light years away could strip away half the planet's ozone layer in seconds. A single one of those explosions releases in the blink of an eye more energy than the sun will emit over its entire existence. If the beam pointed straight at us, half the planet would see the sky change color before anyone even understood what was happening, and the other half would only find out once the shield against ultraviolet radiation had already vanished. Entire civilizations could disappear from history before writing down a single line about what killed them. And this is where the list stops talking about isolated accidents and starts talking about the kind of ending the Earth doesn't choose, doesn't survive, and never repeats twice. There's a category of object that can cross the solar system without giving off any light at all, without any telescope noticing in time. A rogue black hole the size of a city, but carrying the mass of several times our sun. All it takes is for one to pass close enough to our star, and the orbits of every planet start behaving like billiard balls slamming into each other in a game that can take millions of years to finish. If that were happening right now, nobody would notice immediately. The Earth would simply start, year after year, drifting away or getting dangerously close to the only source of heat keeping anything alive around here. And that category of threat, at least, still depends on a rare visitor crossing our path by chance. The next chapter of this story doesn't depend on any visitor at all. It's already written into the equations of stellar physics. In about 5 billion years, the Sun will swell to a size large enough to swallow Mercury, Venus, and quite likely Earth itself. Only long before any of that, billions of years earlier, the oceans will have already boiled away completely. The planet will die dry long before it dies burned. The entire written history of humanity, from the first cave drawings to right now, fits inside a single blink of an eye on that clock. There's no if in this chapter. There's only when. And once the Sun finishes transforming, whatever's left of it will shrink down into a cold ember the size of Earth, drifting through space while everything that was once our solar system cools off in silence. 2 entire galaxies, each carrying hundreds of billions of stars, are on a head-on collision course. And the encounter has already begun, even if no one can see it happening with the naked eye. The Milky Way and Andromeda are closing in at more than 100 kilometers per second, and the full merger should take around 4 billion years to complete. The odds of 2 actual stars colliding in that process are lower than the odds of winning the same lottery 10 times in a row. The empty space between stars is simply too vast for that. But even without a direct collision, the gravity of both galaxies will reshape entire orbits, and the night sky for anyone around to see it would change completely. A second spiral of stars, stretching across half the horizon, bright enough to wash out most of the constellations we know today. But what if the biggest threat on this list didn't come from any object crossing our path at all, but from the laws of physics themselves, quietly running their course whether anyone is watching or not? After the last star in the universe burns out, with trillions of years still ahead, everything will keep existing, just without enough energy left to make anything happen at all. The temperature of everything will drift slowly toward absolute zero, in a process so slow that if the current age of the universe fit inside a single second, this ending would still be centuries away on that scale. No new star will ever be born again. No chemical reaction will be left to happen. Just space, darkness, and a silence that will never be interrupted again. But even that ending, slow and inevitable as it is, would still be a process, something that unfolds gradually with billions of years between one step and the next. The last item on this list isn't a process. It's a switch. There's a theory, one physics hasn't ruled out, that the vacuum of the universe itself might not be as stable as it looks, and that at some point, somewhere, it could simply shift into a different state. If that happened, a tiny bubble would form, carrying the laws of physics rewritten inside it, and that bubble would expand in every direction at the speed of light. Nothing travels faster than it does. That means if this process were already happening right now, just a few light years away, the only way to notice would be watching reality itself get erased, with no warning arriving before the change itself. There would be no escape, no alert, not even time to understand what was happening, just existence, and in the next instant, something completely different, or nothing at all, no trace left behind to even mark that it once was. No one knows if that bubble already exists somewhere in the observable universe, moving in silence for billions of years, closer than we'd like to admit. And maybe it's better not to know. Maybe the only thing separating us from that moment is the simple fact that, so far, it just hasn't arrived yet. If any of this kept you thinking as much as it kept me thinking while writing it, drop a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next deep dive like this one, and tell me in the comments, out of every ending on this list, which one kept you up the most?